Yes.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being so patient, everybody. We had a bit of technical issues here before the show, but we got them all sorted out because we have 3 guests on tonight's show, which is it's abnormal. It's been a long time since we've had so many wonderful guests on the show simultaneously, and tonight's guests, pretty much fresh off of one of the biggest events in ultra running. I'm almost going to say history. Just the stacked field, both men and women on both sides of the field there. At the 2017 Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc. It was insane. So 3 of our guests tonight, I feel like shared a wonderful experience at this race, at least from a spectator standpoint. It was really neat to see it all unfold. We're joined by 3 incredible athletes, Amanda Basham, Kaci Lickteig, and Magda Boulet. I can't wait to talk to these 3 athletes about their experience at UTMB this year. We're going to kind of find out what happened because they all ended up working together towards the end, which I thought was really neat and unique. So welcome everyone to Ginger Runner Live episode number 180. Big show tonight. We're going to just get right into it. So sit back, relax. Here we go. Let's start. Ginger Runner. Yay! What is up, everyone? Happy Monday. Happy Ginger Runner Live episode number 180. Gus is dragging his butt on the carpet. That's a great way to start the show and hilarious. I'm so excited about tonight's show. I get excited about every show, but this one tonight, I mean, we have like 3 of some of the best guests that we could possibly have on the show, fresh off of an incredible experience at UTMB. What I would like to picture and imagine is an incredible experience, but I bet it wasn't easy. We are joined by 3 incredible athletes, and we're going to talk to all 3 of them about how they work together. Before we even get to that, this weekend was abound with ultra events and amazing. That's not a good proper sentence. I'm off to a great start. A lot of events happened this weekend. Gus is off to a better start than you are. Gus is off to a great start. A lot of amazing events happened this last weekend. I'd like to congratulate everyone that finished maybe their first ultra this weekend, maybe their 100th ultra. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge some individuals out there that maybe ran their first. And there was like the Headlands 100, 75 and 50 mile race this weekend. Is it Run Rabbit Run or Rocky Raccoon? One of the RR races in Colorado, and it was Run Rabbit, that's right, because of the rabbits in the hair. So right. Totally right. So congratulations to all the finishers there. And of course, a big thank you to Mr. Brian Sands, who continues to support this show month after month now. And it's pretty awesome. Brian is at our top tier Patreon support, basically sponsoring these shows to make sure that they happen week in and week out. And Brian just completed his longest training run for his very first marathon, which is coming up on October 8th. He ran his longest training run this last weekend, 27 miles. So I'd actually like to congratulate Brian and welcome him to the Ultra Club, because he just skipped running the marathon altogether and just basically did his longest training run as an ultra. So go for it, Brian. That's amazing.
Nice work,
thank
Brian.
You. Nice
thank
work.
You.
And Brian is in the chat room tonight. And big thank you to Brian for helping make this show happen week after week.
And before we get into it, because I think the show is going to move very fast and be very exciting.
As soon as we click on.
As always, you guys, I'm Kim and I'm in the chat room. So if you guys have questions for our wonderful guests, please ask them there.
Okay. Enough of this pre-show talk. I think it's time to introduce our guests, welcome them to the show. Let's start with, for the first time on Ginger Runner Live, Amanda Basham. Amanda!
Yay! Hey!
How are you?
I'm great. I ran for the first time today since UTMB.
I was going to say, how are the legs? Are they recovered?
Well, I ran a whole 15 minutes, and it was very slow. But it was okay. It was pretty good.
Nice. And where are you coming to us from?
I'm in Logan, Utah right now.
Nice.
As soon as I got back, I actually drove to Colorado and crewed my friend Maggie at Run Rabbit Run.
Maggie Gooderl?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Maggie's also in the chat room.
Maggie is in the chat room. Big shout out to Maggie.
Great job, Maggie.
Big friend of the show and just a fantastic athlete. Next up, by the way, I know that you can see all of their faces down below. So when we have multiple guests on the show, Google Hangouts loves to position all of our faces. So you've already seen them. But without further ado, let me introduce our second guest tonight, Kaci Lickteig.
Yay!
How you doing, Kaci?
I'm doing good.
Did you run today? Or have you run since UTMB?
I did.
Did you run 20 miles? Let's be honest.
No, not yet.
Okay. And finally, guest supreme. It's great to have her back on the show. It's actually been a long time since we've had Magda on the show, and she's done some incredible things since we had her on last. Magda Boulet. Hi, Magda.
Hey, Magda.
It's so good to be back.
It's awesome to have you back. And have you run since UTMB?
I have not run, but I've been having fun on my commuter bike. Let's put it this way. Nice. So at least getting a little bit of fitness in there. Right.
All right. So I kind of want to set the stage here. The three of you are obviously extremely talented runners. You have incredible resumes, all three of you. What inspired you to take part in UTMB? Amanda, I want to start with you since we haven't had you on the show before. What is it about UTMB that really drew you in?
Well, as you get to know me better, you'll know that I have extreme FOMO, and I get involved in as many events as I possibly can. And last year I went and, kind of caught the UTMB bug because I was crewing Zach Miller.
Mm-hmm. And
it was just amazing. And I went there crewing him, so I got to explore and just relax and see everything. And then seeing it from a spectator's view with thousands of people watching, and it's just so different over there. And it was just something that is easy to want to be a part of.
Yeah. What about you, Kaci? Because I can imagine you don't have mountains like what you experienced in Nebraska.
Not at all. When I initially wanted to run it, it was before my grandma was sick, so I was like all geared up about racing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then 2 months prior to the race, of course, I wasn't training, so it was more of a, well, let's just go experience this race and see what these mountains hold. And they are very humbling, very massive.
Yeah, I often heard that the U.S. has switchbacks and Europe does not believe in that.
No.
Not too many.
Not too many. Now, Magda, I know that you've probably soaked in UTMB. How many times have you been a part of that event, whether spectator or on the other side or any of that kind of stuff?
So this was my third year going back. I started with CCC 2 years ago.
Right.
Got a taste of what it's like, what the race is about, and was really eager to go back last year and finished 5th. And this year I had my eyes set on top 3. I felt that I was ready to improve on my last year's performance. And I was going into UTMB with a big mission to accomplish.
Yeah. It's a different event than I think anything that we have here in the States, and it poses its own challenges, which I'm sure that we'll probably get to in the description here. Kaci, for you, I'm really curious how you talked a bit about your grandma, and I know that was your family is priority number one, and you spent a lot of the summer with family. Did you feel that you were able to get in training for UTMB, or was it one of those things where you were going to go no matter what?
I was going for I Run for Ultra, so I was going to go no matter what. And so there was really no training for this race. It was kind of just hoping that the Western states would kind of just help me go through and be able to finish. And Jason was like, my coach Jason Coop, he said, well, you'll be able to finish. And so I left all the racing off the table and just said, I'm going to go experience this and get a good grasp of what these mountains are like. So that was my goal.
And Amanda, for you, did you have to do anything different in your training to lead up to such a big scale event?
Well, basically after Western, I got an ankle injury going into Western, so I ended up dropping at like 24 miles. But I did a lot of speed work and stuff before Western, and then I focused on getting in a lot of vert and just a lot of volume. After that. And so that was just, I guess that was kind of the difference ever since then.
And Magda, having raced over there before and experienced those mountains and those trails, how was your adaptation from states to UTMB? Did you do anything different?
Right. So I think, going back to last year, my goal was to do the double, to do the Western States UTMB double. And I dropped out of Western States, so I only got to focus. I still had all the training. Obviously, under my legs going into Western States. I just didn't get a chance to race. So I felt like that was a really smooth transition last year going into UTMB. This year, I completed the race and wanted to actually, do the 2 races. And like Amanda said, after Western States, you kind of just make a switch to, a little bit more, vertical, or a lot more vertical, trying to get, as many, hiking days as possible and a little bit longer days. So it's a nice, actually, after Western States, that's a nice change in your training. Mm-hmm. My training was going pretty well. So, I really, really enjoyed the hiking part and, trying to learn how to use the poles and just getting a lot more vertical in.
I'm fascinated to kind of learn about the 3 of your relationships, because I know Kaci and Magda, Lake Sonoma this year is a perfect example of just the friendship that goes beyond the racing. Amanda, had the 3 of you met before? Is this like the first time that you guys really got a chance to run and race and meet?
Well, we've all met before. I definitely know Magda better than Kaci. I just haven't been around Kaci as much. But we've all met and been at, you kind of see the same people at all of these ultras. We're kind of a small little crowd. So it's cool that way. And I know Magda through GU. I used to work for GU, and then they're really involved in a lot of the events. And so a lot of times there's athlete houses and we all hang out and that sort of thing.
And Kaci, who do you like better, Magda or Amanda? I'm totally kidding. Don't answer that.
Pick me.
I was like the sweetest person. That's like the worst question to ask.
Yeah.
We have so many live questions coming through. Kim, you're being very good about pulling questions aside here. Before we even get to one of those, I want to shout out Tim Tollefson, who's in the chat room. A little love to Tim because he's the highest placing male American. Yeah. Nice job, buddy. Congratulations on such a stellar performance, and it was awesome to follow from afar. But let's get to some of these live questions for the ladies today.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort through everything.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
All over the place here. There's a good question from Paul in the chat room for Kaci. Question for Kaci: is it hard to switch gears from aiming for podium to simply trying to experience a race?
Absolutely. It was a lot of a change for my mental state because I'm used to always just, when I get to the start line, it's go time and it's race time. So for this one, it was a lot different for me to set back and just say, okay, I'm going to be given this day or days and just kind of go with it and just listen to my body and enjoy it and experience it and have fun. So that was my number one goal, is to make sure I didn't get into that race mode, and I nailed that.
A question from Amber. This is a question for all 3 of you guys, whoever wants to answer. What was something you were most excited and anxious for before starting UTMB?
Magda, let's start with you.
Definitely the start. It's if you haven't experienced the start in person, make sure you make your way to Chamonix and see the start of the UTMB race. It's unbelievable. It's super exciting. It's you get chills like standing on the starting line, but at the same time it's like it's killing you because you just want to get things started, and they keep you in there for like 20 minutes. So it's a very special moment. That you're about to just go on an incredible journey.
What about you, Amanda?
I love the competition. I think it's awesome in the small amount of time that I've been in the sport, how competitive the women's field has gotten at all of the big races. And I love it. The more competitive, the better, because then when you do well, it feels that much better, and you're just racing with your friends, and usually you'll run faster too because the field's just faster. So I loved that it was such a competitive, awesome field, but it was also the thing that scared me too. So, just racing with all of the women that were out there is intimidating, and especially on a course like UTMB.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're dealing with two sides of the coin, not only the competition, but the course. The course is part of it. Yeah, it's equally as important in that equation. What about you, Kaci?
Oh man, I was terrified of it all. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can finish this. The mountains are just massive. The start time being so late, being in the dark all night, but you're never alone. So it actually ended up being like one of the best experiences ever. So I would definitely love to go back sometime.
It's as someone who has never experienced it, it seems crazy. Western states in my mind is, oh man, the spectacle, and there's so many spectators and people throughout the course. But I know that you've had rough experiences at states where you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're heat stroke, or you're, huddled over the side of a trail trying to keep it together. Whereas UTMB, I feel like there is never, are you ever alone? Like, do you ever feel like you're out there?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Really? It's just because there's spectators all along the course for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, even with the gnarly weather, people are just camped in the middle of nowhere, cheering for you at, whatever mile. And I mean, it's pretty awesome, but it's also like, why are you out here?
Let's get one more live question, and then we're gonna start talking about how these races played out for the ladies.
Yeah, sure. So since we were talking about spectators and crowds, there's a question from Nathaniel in the chat room. Question for any of the three. Videos from UTMB appear to show large crowds immediately alongside the course itself. Does the atmosphere positively impact your performance, or does it add pressure?
Magda, let's start with you there.
I think it's really, really exciting. Like, I love the crowds. I think they, it can get at the start a little bit out of control because, instead of like pacing yourself for 100 miles, a lot of people just go out like they're running, a 10K. So it can get a little, you can get a little bit too excited about, just having all the people supporting you. But it is just an incredible, plus, like in the middle of the race when you're running through like different villages and little towns. The aid stations are just packed. And it's, sometimes you can be super tired going into an aid station and then just spending a few minutes like around the people. Is like, it gives you a nice boost. Like,
I'm so sorry.
I love it.
Our dog is cheering for you guys. He's cheering.
Yay!
He's so excited. He actually just saw a squirrel outside.
Oh gosh.
He was sleeping, and then he went to 120% all of a sudden.
It's just like the UTMB start.
Yes.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
What about you, Amanda? I'm curious to kind of know your thoughts on the whole big crowd thing.
I love the crowds, and especially when I was still feeling good in the beginning. I was high-fiving the little kids, and it gives you a lot of energy going through the aid stations with that many people.
Before we even we're going to start getting into this here because I'm really curious how these races played out and how they met, exceeded, or didn't quite meet up to expectations. When you go into a race like UTMB, especially at the level that you ladies are at, I am wondering, what do you go in as far as expectations are concerned? Kaci, I know we talked a little bit about that, but let's start with you here. Did you go into this race with the expectation just wanting to finish, or potentially, a top quotient of the women's field, or what did you go in as far as expectations were concerned?
My goal was number one to finish. I had no expectations at all in myself, so I just wanted to enjoy myself out there and not make it something that I was suffering through, because that's a long time to suffer. So as long as I could try to make myself, go and enjoy it, so I would want to go back, was my number one goal.
What about you, Magda? How was expectation versus reality?
Two different scenarios for me. I went into the race really, my goal was to improve on what I did last year. I felt like, last year I went into the race, very kind of conservative approach. I was also pretty intimidated and scared of the, big mountains. So I took a nice and conservative approach to racing. And, for the most part, I had a really solid, uneventful race. No hiccups. It went pretty smooth. So this year, my goal was to be more aggressive. To go in and be, and try to improve on top 5. Unfortunately, a lot went wrong. A lot went wrong, and I went from setting my eyes on on a podium to just hoping that I would reach that finish line. I had a friend. I lost a friend 2 days before a race, and I kind of lost any desire to to compete. I just couldn't turn it around. I wanted to get on a plane, go home, and I just felt like it didn't really belong in a race. But at the same time, you're so far away, and I tried to turn it around and just kind of just do the race. Started a race and had some trouble with my hip flexor going down hills, and by the time I got to mile halfway through the race in Courmayeur, I was ready to walk away and just go home. And luckily, I ran into Kaci, who convinced me to just go one more aid station, and the story just changed after that.
I mean, I can't even imagine, and of course, my heart goes out to you and to I'm assuming David's family, but
yeah,
it was heartbreaking news to get that days before the race, and that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you three ladies on, because I feel like this was really neat to at least witness from afar. I wasn't there in person, but to see the camaraderie and the ability for the three of you to work together to get it done. It seems, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like all three of your races didn't quite go to maybe where you had planned. And Amanda, let's talk with you, because your expectation versus reality, how did that play out for you?
Well, so all year, I mean, I was aiming for top 10 being my goal at UTMB, just because there were so many. It was my first time there. The mountains are crazy, and the competition was phenomenal. Right. I knew it was a little lofty because my training all year was kind of a shit show, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I was going to go for it anyways. And for a while, I felt really good. And then I just started cramping up, and I don't know if it was a lack of electrolytes or the cold weather or a mixture of things. But that kind of led into about 4 hours of not eating, and I really dug myself a hole. So that was a mistake that I feel like is frustrating because it could have been avoided. So then it kind of went real downhill from there, and I was bawling on the climb up Col Ferret, and then I decided that I was going to drop at La Folie, and that's when I saw Kaci and Magda and Mario.
Yeah, there's a fourth portion of this team as well, Mario, who I've seen in pictures and that sort of thing, and the three of you will be able to talk to a bit about him. But I'm curious, when you all three came together, La Folie, I believe, is the aid station, and who was there first, or who was waiting, or how did this ragtag group of runners manage to come together?
Like the best ragtag.
Like, yes, this is kind of like someone called them a Megazord in the chat room, which I think is hilarious. It's the Power Rangers. It's like the best things coming together to make one giant piece of awesome, which I think is great. So who saw each other first and came together? Kaci, do you remember?
So coming down into La Folie, I was behind Magda, and I had been running with Mario early on in the race, probably miles 20 to basically Courmayeur. And then I lost him at Courmayeur, and then I picked him up with Magda right before La Folie. And then we came into that aid station and saw Amanda there, who was literally on the phone saying, like, I am going to quit right now. I want to have, I'm DNFing. And we're like, Magda's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to come with us. And so from that aid station, we made kind of our little pact to group together and finish.
Amanda, you are sitting there on the phone, and Magda and Kaci come up to you. What's going through your head?
I was like, damn it. We were only at 100K.
Yeah.
So much longer to go. No, I mean, at first I was like, shoot, if they tell me I have to go, I can't quit. And quitting's so easy at that point. And then it really only took me a couple minutes of feeling like I knew I wanted to finish as bad or even more than I wanted to quit. So it was good to have them. I mean, they're both so positive, like even though they weren't having good days either. And I figured I could at least suck it up and go with them.
Now, Magda, when you saw Kaci, when you came across Kaci, or when you guys got together, and then you see Amanda at the next aid station, in your mind, are you still thinking, let's just get one more aid station, or are you thinking, I want to finish this? What's going through your head?
I think I've had some conversation before we got to La Foy with both Mario and Kaci, and I knew by then they were not going to let me stop. That was pretty clear. They said, "You're finishing this race. You're finishing this race for David," and I was committed. I was committed at that point that no matter what, I was going to make my way around that mountain. But it was pretty hilarious, seeing Amanda on the phone. Her poles were like in pieces. She destroyed her poles. Like she's like, nothing's going right. Like I'm not having a good day. My poles are crap. They're broken. And I think she was eating salami and cheese at that point, and her shoes were off. So on the phone. So it was pretty comical just watching that. And because, in Courmayeur, I went kind of through the same thing. I was ready to walk away, and my husband goes, "Great, we're going home." And that's when it hit me, like, no, I'm not going home. You're not supposed to tell me to walk away. You're the last person to tell me to walk away. So, I think it was the right time. I think we found each other at the lowest points of our race, and for the rest of our lives, we're going to be grateful for that moment.
Yeah. And Kaci, this is something that I thought was really interesting. You had one of those experiences at States, reading your race report and kind of your recap from that. It sounds like you were at that position, same as Amanda and same as Magda, where you were done. You wanted to leave. You were done with States for that day, but someone came in and pulled you out of that chair and pushed you on, and it was almost like you are now transferring that, like kind of passing it on at UTMB. Was there something inside of your head that said, "Do not quit UTMB," and if you come across anyone who wants to, don't let them? I mean, was that kind of carrying on with you?
It was, and then I would have to give mad props to Mario for keeping me going too, because early on I was crying because I was like, I can't use poles. I have no idea how to use poles. And so he talked me like off the ledge. And since then I was like, nope, this is for grandma. I told myself this is for grandma. And it was just great to have the company, because we were all just kind of in that somber moment, and being positive together pushed each other forward one step at a time. So it was just fun to have that train the whole way there. It made the experience really fun to me.
That's awesome. Again, we have tons of live questions. Kim has rejoined us after taking care of Squirrel Gus. Sorry about the interruption. He's very... Hey, Gus, lots of treats. We got questions, though, from the live chat room. Go for it.
Yeah, so you're just talking about the salami and the cheese there. Wing had a question in the chat room for whoever wants to answer. European races like UTMB tend to have much different food than US races. Do you guys like the aid station food, or did you pack a lot of your own food?
Magda, as one of the members of GU Energy, and I'm sure you have a lot of information regarding nutrition and stuff like that. What's this for you? Do you partake?
Right. Oh, absolutely. I think that once my goal changed in terms of what I was going to accomplish on that day, I also responded to, how much time I was spending out there, and, how cold I was. I think I drank a lot of the broth. I think I had like 3 bowls of soup at every aid station, because of, at times, we were really, really cold. And when you're not racing at the level that we're used to, when you're moving a little bit slower, you also get a little bit more cold. So for me, I really enjoyed the soup and the crackers. And they had two different crackers, and I fell in love and was addicted to them.
Me too.
It's something. So both Kaci and I kind of had an obsession with the crackers.
I honestly, I want to be a fly on the wall in the aid station as you three come through, and like I can just picture Magda and Kaci just like, where are the crackers? Where are the crackers? Going for the
Yeah, where are the crackers? Did you combine the two of them together? Because the two of them together really were more delicious.
Yes.
Kaci, what about you? So first international race, am I correct?
Correct.
I can imagine this experience was overwhelming in many facets. When it comes to the food at the aid stations, did were you getting crazy with the crackers and cheese, or were you like, I don't know?
Oh no, it's a smorgasbord. It's like, let's eat. The dark chocolate was amazing also, besides the crackers. And they had cookies, so that was good. Bread. I mean, there's stuff for everybody. You just gotta be flexible.
Yeah. What about you,
Except
Amanda?
the sparkling water. I don't know what's up with that. It's so weird.
Is that all they had? Is it only sparkling water?
You got to get the still water because the bubbly water is just not good.
What about you,
I
Amanda?
agree.
So I knew that the aid stations were like that. So
Right.
actually training, I would eat weird, random things like that. So I feel like I can handle like almost anything, even if I'm actually moving fast. But I actually, a lot of the people at the aid stations would see me pull out this bag of bread, and I had nowhere else to put it in my pack, and I had this bag of bread that I shoved in the front of my shorts. So it was like I just pulled it out and like the front of my shorts, like got this big bump up front, and bread out of my pants, and everyone just thought it was so weird. But it was weird.
I feel like you can see some of the weirdest thing at ultra races. So in my mind, I'm like, a bag full of bread actually sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Right.
Like that actually sounds like the best thing ever. So now I'm curious. You all three plus Mario are working together. Was there ever a moment where any of you felt the need to push ahead, or I'm feeling much better, I'm just going to go for it? Or was the decision made in each of your minds to stick together and work as a team? Magda, we can start with you on that.
For me, it was definitely, we're sticking together and we're going to cross that finish line no matter what, and we're going to help each other out. I think we all went through like different strengths and weaknesses, even running as a group, and we definitely made an effort to pull each other out of that weakness and just help each other out. I think it was pretty clear. It definitely was not something that we talked about, but it was very clear that we were going to stick together.
Kaci, was it the same sort of thought for you, or did you have any desire to quit at that point, or to keep pushing harder? Or
no, I agree. It was a team effort, and it was great because like on some of the climbs we would change leads, so it was like you wouldn't have to be in lead the whole way, and then somebody else that was a little stronger would go the next time. Or on the downhills, Amanda just crushed those, and so she would fly down those, and we would try to we follow along. So it was like a team.
That's pretty awesome. And Amanda, did you enjoy the experience working with three other individuals?
Oh, it was what I needed to get through it. There was one small part after Lafoulie when we first left that, and it was the road, and it was downhill road. And for some reason, like at that point, I felt a little bit better, probably because we spent 30 plus minutes eating and sitting. And so Kaci and I both kind of ran a little faster on that downhill road. And then I think Champs-Lac is the next one. And we were all together again by that point. And after that, we never left each other. We were always together. And it was just like what Kaci said, like we kept changing leads, and a lot of times we'd tell Mario to go ahead, and he would just kind of push us. And I actually thought it was hilarious because Kaci like started feeling really good towards the end, apparently, and wanted to run more. And so Mario would be leading us, and she'd be like, "Mario, this is runnable. Why are we walking?" It was great. It was a really good time, and I probably wouldn't have finished without them.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I don't know. I feel like the three of you plus Mario, so the four of you, there are probably a number of inside jokes, a number of inside experiences of, little moments out there that will make you laugh and that sort of thing. Was there ever any low points when you guys continued on working together? Was there ever any moments where three of you had to help the fourth kind of lift out of a dark spot?
I think we were all kind of on the page of finishing, but there was definitely some low points, especially on those last climbs that was just like never ending. And we heard at one point it was like 7 miles to the finish, and then it was actually like 10 or 11, 12. It was like, what? Where do these extra miles come from?
We were all so angry when we got to what's that last aid station called? I can't remember, but it's the last one. And so you're climbing and you get to the top.
Serene. Yeah.
No, it was after.
Serene.
Man, I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, the Refugio. Yeah.
And it said 8K. We walk in there and we're thinking there's like a couple miles left. And the aid station says 8K. And we were all so angry. And we're like, 8K left? What is going on? There's no way. And it was that was a little terrible for a few minutes.
I think we did a really good job of really like turning the situation around when you could tell that someone was struggling. I think one of us would like step it up and like either, say something positive or just reshift the focus to something else. Like, look at the moon. It's almost full. Like, isn't this beautiful? Forget that we have, a 10K uphill, but, I think we did a really good job of doing that.
Yeah. Well, Magda kept saying, I mean, they both were, but I kept hearing Magda say like, oh, good job. Whenever I was like, I couldn't get my heart rate down for some reason. And it was just staying so high. And when I was climbing up those last few climbs, I was behind everyone and I just sounded like a monster, like so loud and ridiculous. It was like, good job, good job. And I'm just like over here breathing so heavy, like a 400-pound man. And it was just it's terrible.
You're painting a great picture, Amanda, of just a giant monster and short spread.
And he was calling it short spread.
Yeah.
And
Short
with extra long poles from Keeley.
Oh man,
That's right. Yeah.
busted into a million pieces. Just fell apart. My arm hurts worse than my legs right now.
Yeah.
I'm curious what happened to the poles. Did you just leave them at Lafoli, or did you?
Well, so I carried them for a while in about 20 different pieces because you can't leave them or you'll get disqualified. And so I had them in my pack in a million pieces, and then Keeley brought some to me like the second to last aid station.
Right.
And then I broke hers.
And they were giant.
They were huge because Keeley's like 10 feet tall. So, and I'm a little midget compared to her, and they were just gigantic, and I broke them in half.
I don't know what you have to do to break poles. I have fragile carbon fiber poles, and I've really like used those things, and they're still good. They're still all whole pieces.
I know. I'm on second UTMB, and they're still in one piece.
Right. So
but you also have to picture, next to Amanda and I with poles. Kaci had actually she had poles, but she never took them out of her pack. So she carried the poles the whole time. And, I was just amazed that she stayed on her 2 feet because there were sections that were so muddy that you could go skiing. And having poles really made a huge difference. Meantime, Kaci was just, I'll get through it. I don't want to touch my poles.
I love Kaci's mentality of just, I'm good. Did you have any desire to pull the poles out at all, Kaci, or were you like, I don't need them?
Well, I tried them at like mile 20 going up the climb, and I think I got so anaerobic from trying to use them.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to like hyperventilate. So I put them in my pack, and that was it. I was like, nope, not going to do it.
I love it. Retire the poles. We'll keep them because you have to keep them, I believe,
Yeah.
Right.
the entire race. But yeah, don't even want to pull them out.
Yeah, there's comments in the chat room of like, Kaci didn't want Amanda using her poles.
Well, she actually offered them to me.
Kaci did offer them to you?
Yeah, she did. But then at that point I had Keeley's, I think, which I still should have used Casey's because Keeley's were ridiculously long.
Just imagine just giant poles way up there. I want to get to a couple of these live questions that we have from our live viewers, and then I have a couple more questions before we move into the post show. But let's go ahead and get some of those, Kim.
Yeah, let's see here. Question from Cheryl. For all the women, what was your favorite part of the UTMB course?
Amanda, let's start with you. You've been here before. What was your favorite part this year running it?
Well, probably the best and worst. The one moment where I actually like the sky cleared and I like looked around was climbing up Col Ferret. And it was just so pretty. Like the sun had hit the mountains perfectly, and it makes you feel so small. They're so huge. And I just kind of stopped and looked around that was before I started crying on that climb. I just looked around and it was so pretty. And that was like the best part.
What about you, Magda?
Mm-hmm. I have to say that, the last 2 aid stations when we had all of our friends out, they created a tunnel for us and they knew that we were on the way to finish, that we were going to make it. It was just incredible to have that support. Like we were together. Nothing was going to stop us. We were going to finish that race no matter what. Another, storm, nothing was going to stop us. And then just having like your friends out there supporting you, and they made a tunnel for us, and they were singing, and they had music going. Like it put a smile on my face, and just made me kind of realize that, whatever, 20, 40 miles, before that I was ready to walk away from this. And here we are, like, I'm going to get to that finish line. And I was so grateful, like, for everyone around me. It was very special.
That's awesome. And Kaci, this is your first big international race, and it's obviously a huge spectacle and a huge scene. And before I hear your answer to the question of your favorite part, I have to comment that one thing I loved was seeing some of the photos that you took around the experience, because I could tell that it was from the perspective of something like you had never seen these things before. And I could see the excitement, like in your photos, I could see the excitement of, look at this amazing mountain, and look at this incredible tunnel, and look at these signs that are in a foreign language. It was fun because it was like, that's the first time that she's probably seeing a lot of these things. So I'm really curious what your favorite part. I can imagine it was a full spectacle, but do you have any specific memories of your favorite parts of UTMB?
I have 3 specific ones. That the very first start, going up some of the climbs, I remember 2 Great Pyrenees dogs that were guarding their sheep. And they were just beautiful dogs. They just watched over them. They were right next to us, and they never moved a muscle, but they watched us the whole way. It was really, really cool. Then that run from Refugee Bertone all the way down to Bertelli, I think. It was just beautiful, perfect runnable. You could see Mont Blanc really well. And then, like Magda said, the finish where we had just our group of friends there, that was so fun and inspiring. It was like, we're not doing this just for ourselves. This is for us and all the people that believe in us. And that really hit home.
I love it. I want to kind of ask this specifically, but what are you taking away from this? Because I think it's an amazing thing to see these 3 elite athletes who showed up to this international event to perform to the best of their ability. They've been training for months, and to know that they have potential to be podium or potential to place top, whatever, race against some of the best in the world. They are the best in the world. So you show up to this race, things don't necessarily go as planned, but yet they find each other and work together. So I'm really curious maybe what you are taking away from this, and maybe what those who are watching live or listening later can take away from this as well. Amanda, I'll start with you. Just what your takeaways are from this experience at UTMB with these ladies, and Mario.
Well, I think the biggest thing is like when you get kind of caught up in the competition and being an elite runner, professional, whatever you want to call it, you kind of lose the whole culture of the sport, you know, like how it used to really be. It was about challenging yourself and doing something really hard and just being out there and enjoying it. And it really allowed us to do that. It was, you know, it's unfortunate that we had bad races, and we obviously are people with a lot of goals, but it was awesome to have that back and kind of realize like, this is what the sport is about. And like us all being together and finishing together, like that's what it's all about.
Nice. Kaci, what about you?
Definitely taking back the coming together, the community of the sport, like empowering one another gives us power. And just seeing all of us come together and group together and be as one was really inspiring to me. It's like, you never think that you have to do it by yourself. You can rely on others and you can make your way to the finish, no matter what it is in life.
And what about you, Magda?
I think that for me, it just reinforces that, you know, you just never give up. Like there will always be, you know, bumps in a race. There will always be challenges that are really hard to overcome, and nothing is guaranteed. You know, even being in the best shape of your life doesn't guarantee that you're going to have, you know, the best performance that day. Mm-hmm. And just, you know, just knowing that, you know, you can always kind of push that reset button, and that you can rely on, like Kaci said, you can rely on the people around you, and you can gain strength from them. I mean, that, you know, that's just priceless. Like, you know, always make friends, even make friends with strangers in a race when you have a hard time, because it's priceless what you can get out of it, and what you can give to people too. It's both ways.
Yeah. As someone who's run a number of ultras myself, there are some of my fondest memories are the hours spent talking to someone you didn't know and meeting someone that you had no idea who they were, except you just happened to be moving at the same pace at the same place in a race. Right. And some of those friendships are pretty incredible. And I can tell you without a doubt that some of my races wouldn't have been finished had I not encountered those individuals. And that's why I love seeing this. I loved seeing you, the four of you, cross the finish line. I want to make sure I give some shout out to Mario, because
yes,
who is Mario? Who of you know? Who of you three knows Mario outside of the race? Right, like you guys are friends outside of.
Yeah, we just met him during. Yeah, and like you said, it's a friendship that is going to last, you know, forever.
That's fantastic. It's testament to the community. It's testament to the sport and the types of people that run these events. You know, some people do it for specific individual reasons, but a lot of the time it still brings us together in an organic way. I am super inspired by the three of you. And while I'll never be able to run as fast as you three, to see the Megazord come to life at UTMB was pretty amazing. And to see it unfold, I guess, in semi-real time, but then to see the four of them finish.
I think I was giving you updates because I was obsessively refreshing and following the thing, and I'd be like, oh, I think Magda and Kaci are together. I think Magda, Kaci, and Amanda are together.
And it just heightens the excitement, like, oh my God, they're working together. This is amazing. So thank you for giving us, the fans of the sport, a pretty amazing thing to follow, but I can only imagine it's a fraction of what you four are going to be able to take away from that experience. Of course, because this is Amanda's first time on Ginger Runner Live. Yep. Before we move into the post show, where we'll be able to ask these ladies rapid fire questions, there's tons of questions that didn't get asked during the show. But Amanda, since this is your first time on the show, we get to do something fun with you. It's called the Quickie Question Quiz. I'm also kind of curious to hear Kaci and Magda's. Actually, let's start with this. So before we get to the Quickie Question Quiz, Kaci, what is something that you learned about one of either Magda or Amanda that maybe you didn't know beforehand that you are willing to share?
Oh, goodness. They both
doesn't have to be secrets.
But. Right. As you all know, they both have hearts of gold, and just they are so positive, uplifting people that, I mean, if you go around them, their smiles are infectious and they bring you joy. So they're both just my trail angels. Same with Mario too.
Well, Mario, I'm just gonna say it. Thanks, man. I apologize for not getting you on the show. I don't know Mario's last name, but he's now legend amongst this show tonight. Magda, what is something maybe you learned about Amanda or Kaci that you didn't know or would like to say?
Well, I had no idea Kaci had such a mountain goat skills, up and down without poles. I like, you know, every time she was in front of me, whether we were going up and down, like, how is she staying on her feet? So, and also, you know, she can sing pretty well.
That's great.
Amanda, you know, I mean, I knew she could descend pretty well, but she, you know, she definitely takes the downhills aggressively, and you know, she definitely pulled me along to a lot of the descents where I really struggled. So I was also pretty impressed with her downhill skills.
Nice. And Amanda, what have you taken away from these two ladies?
Well, I already knew this, but I mean, they're the sweetest, most positive people. I mean, probably that I've ever met. Kaci, I already knew that Kaci sang, but she did it again at UTMB. She just has moments where she like just gets so excited, like beyond her normal excitement, and she just started singing. And I mean, and Magda just has that like very like mom soul, like she just wants to take care of you, and it's just so positive and wanting to help. And I love it. I needed it.
That's pretty awesome. One thing that I learned just from the show is that Amanda breaks poles, and she will destroy.
She destroys.
I will never trust Amanda with anything of any value, apparently.
That's why she's Amanda Smash 'em Bash 'em.
I love it. And Kaci, if you want to work on an album, I'm happy to work together with you on that.
We can together for
do a music video. Oh my God, that actually would be amazing. We actually do need to make this happen.
Yes.
In my mind, I'm like, oh, what a funny joke. But in reality, I'm like, what a great video.
Do it.
Kaci, I'm coming to Nebraska. We'll make it happen. Okay, Amanda, I'm putting you on the spot. So this is the Quickie Question Quiz. It's something that we do with all of our first-time guests on the show. It's very easy. It's a rapid-fire series of, I don't know, 8-10 questions or something like that. You just answer with the first thing that comes to your head. You give me a couple thumbs up when you're ready to go, and I'll just start ripping through them. Okay. What was your very first race?
The Frozen Trail Fest. Well, my first ultra was Frozen Trail Fest 50K. Favorite
running movie?
That one with Kevin Costner. What is that called? He like coaches the little kids, and he wasn't a football coach, or I mean, he was a football coach, and then he becomes the cross country coach.
Yeah, I think another one you're talking about. Field of Dreams. Great. Next. Just kidding. Trails or road?
Trails for sure.
Favorite place to run?
I still love the Marin Headlands.
Ooh.
Bucket list race?
Oh, well, it was UTMB. Got that down.
Nice.
Maybe it just needs to be a little better the next time.
Also, everyone's saying it's McFarland. I knew that. I just
yes, it is. It's
letting Amanda stay on the spot there. Guilty pleasure TV show?
America's Next Top Model.
Oh, nice.
Kim just got really excited. I'm like, when's the last time you watched that?
Every day.
Every day. I just did it. Amanda, favorite pre-race meal?
Oh, in France, it's croissants.
Nice. Favorite?
Yeah, we'll stick with that.
Favorite post-race indulgence?
Burgers. Bacon cheeseburger.
And finally, probably the easiest question, and this one will go through all three ladies here.
Yeah.
What are your current running kicks? Amanda, starting with you.
I wore the Ultra Temps for UTMB. I love the Paradigm. It's actually a road shoe, but I wear it on the trail sometimes.
Yeah, I just wore mine yesterday. Kaci, what did you run UTMB in?
The Nike Wild Horse 4.
Nice. And Magda?
Speed Goat.
2?
2, yes. Speed Goat 2.
Nice. Excellent.
I have
excellent.
all three of those shoes in rotation right now.
Mine too. I'm like, correct
Awesome.
answer. All three are correct answers. Well, that's it for the main show. Thank you so much to our three guests tonight, and a huge congratulations
Thank you.
to all
Thanks,
of them.
everyone.
Amanda, thank you for
you.
joining us for the first time. Magda,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
You get. And Kaci, thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
And also I want to thank all three of you guys for doing what you do for the women in sport. I think it's really important, and you guys are just like a picture of women supporting women, and that's just, for me, that's really important. So
awesome.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I like, we were following your race the entire day, and it was, I mean, it was giving more excitement to this house than anything. It was awesome to follow. I know Tim Tollefson's still watching. Tim, you have beautiful hair.
Tim is a baller. We just got to say that.
Well, Tim is a baller, but this race with these ladies and that sort of thing, it was like we were jumping up and down pretty much all day. Again, a big thank you to our three guests tonight. Make sure you follow them all on social media and show them love. Amanda, can you remind people where they can find you on social media?
So my handle is @trainer_AB.
And Kaci?
Twitter handle is @runner_KC.
And Magda?
@Run Boulet, both Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Go follow them, show them love. Thank you for being on the show. If you would like to join us for the post show, we are going to be jumping right into a post show with these three ladies. We have a bunch of questions pulled for the main show. Plus, we'll have lots more questions there from Patreon supporters. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1 a month, you get full access to all of our post shows with all of our guests. And tonight you get 3 elite badasses to interact with, which is going to be pretty awesome. So just go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner if you want to do that. GRVR is the Ginger Runner virtual race coming up on October 8th. We just shipped out all international goods. So if you are registered, we have 150% more registrants this year than we did last year. It's almost 2,000 people. If you are international, whether that's Canada or Europe or Asia, we have Hong Kong, we have all over the globe, your packages are on their way, which is pretty exciting. If you're domestic in the United States, yours will be going out this week. Kim literally was sitting in the living room all day packaging them all up. There might be a bunch of Gus hair in there. We apologize, but
There's
also
no Gus hair.
You're welcome for that. There is no Gus hair in there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Thank you, Brian Sands, for sponsoring Ginger Runner Live for this month of September. Can't believe it's already September. And finally, Where Dreams Go to Die, the documentary I made following Gary Robbins' 2 attempts at the Barkley Marathons in Tennessee for the last 2 years. We're going on tour with that movie. We're sold out across Canada. We're about to sell out in Portland, Denver, and Nashville. DC tickets available, San Francisco tickets available. Magda will get you tickets. I know that you're in that region, so that won't be a problem. We'll be coming to Utah. We'll basically go to wheredreamsgotodie.com. You can see all the tour dates. Get your tickets now because they're moving way faster than we thought they'd be moving. So that'll be really, really exciting to see some of you guys out there. And that is it. Am I right?
That's it.
Sweet. All right, guys, get out there, train hard, race harder, and party the hardest. We'll see you in the post show, or we'll see you next week. That's it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.